Hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a great day today. I wanted to do an art journal page, and I started with the background already covered with some random text and magazine pages. I didn't pick anything special, just wanted to get some texture and some paper on the background. And I honestly don't know what I'm going to do for this one, but I did pick a couple of colors. So I'm going to grab first my painter's marker, and this is just a black acrylic paint marker, and I'm going to make some scribbles and some marks on this to start with and just see what we've got. So I like making script, almost like I'm writing, but I'm not actually writing anything, but it gives it kind of a nice texture in the background, almost like there's handwriting or something like that on the page. So I can do some diagonal, some straight, maybe some going up up the side of the page. And then I might also do some scribbles here and maybe some blocks and some texture, and we'll just get that page nice and marked up. Okay, I gave that a minute to dry, and so I'm going to go in next with my Liquitex Titanium White, and I'm going to put some on my plate here, and a pretty decent amount. I'm going to cover my page with it, but then I'm going to let it I'm going to spray it with water, I think, and then mop some up. So I've got my brush here. I've dipped it in some water just to water it down a tiny bit, and I'm going to cover this whole paper. And I'm just going to go fast with my brush strokes and just, you know what? Let me get my protective sheet under here. You gotta have the protection. You don't want to get stuff on the sheet underneath. That's for sure. So I'm just going over the whole thing, and I'm going to knock back all of these marks a bit where you'll still be able to see them like you can right now, but it's not going to be overwhelming. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is put that aside. I'm going to take my spray bottle and just give it a couple of spritzes to keep it moist. And I'm going to take my sheet of paper and press it right down on top of it and rub it on. And then when I lift it, I'm going to get some really nice texture on the paper. So then I'm going to go in with this turquoise, and I'm going to put some of that on my plate also, and get some of that on my paper too. And I still have white on my brush, but that's fine with me. I'm just going to start painting this on. Just like that. And this is a matte craft paint, and I really love this color. And I'm just going to put it on fairly thinly all over the place, but I'm not going to give it a solid coat. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. Give it just a couple of spritzes. And I'm going to rub that paper on it again. Nice. And you can see I get a nice kind of surface on this too. All right. Back in with the white. And I'm going to go over in some spots, but not all. And I just want a nice dreamy coat of paint until this stuff is faded enough into the background and I get a nice textured surface. Instead of spraying, I'm just going to try to pick it up as it is right now. Oops. come in with some more turquoise. And some more white. Okay. I think that looks pretty good to me. Okay, I gave this a couple minutes to dry. I'm going to come back in with one more layer of white now that the bottom layer has had a chance to just kind of settle down, settle in, and dry off a bit. And I'm just going to brush it on here over everything, and if there's a couple of damp spots still in that turquoise, that's okay. And I'm going to get a little bit more titanium white, and I'm just going to put that right on here with a little bit of water on my brush. And again, I'm just going to quickly go over it, just like this. And the brush strokes don't really matter because I'm going to lift again. And let me just get a little more water on here and even it up. Okay. I'm going to do one last lift. Nice. All right. I think that is just the surface that I want. Perfect. It covers up the background enough, but it's still transparent. I've got a lot of great texture going on here. And now we're ready. Okay, next I'm going to get some of my yellow ochre and put some of this on my plate. And I'm going to come in with my brush and water it down a bit to get it a little bit transparent. I don't think I have any more white left, but I am just kind of making this a little bit watery. And I'm going to kind of come in here with some light marks, just like that. And I'm going to make sure to come up from the bottom and down from the top. And then I'm going to do another dab, just like that. I'm just really building color layers for my background, and I really love how this is kind of turning out almost like some kind of brick wall or something like that. So I have this alcohol ink. This is brown. I am going to just dab some on here for some more texture. And I'm just kind of shaking my lid right on here. And I'm going to get those drips going on my paper and let that kind of settle in. Next up, some Van Dyke Brown. And I think what I might actually do, which might be kind of fun, is to make a little hanging flower basket. So I'm going to take my brown first. I'm going to moisten or dampen my brush, and I'm using my smaller filbert. And I think I'm going to try to make a bit of an abstract basket. And so I kind of want it to have a shape like this, maybe. Almost like it's hanging on a wall. And I'm just going to make sure that my outline is pretty good. Okay. And I'm going to have it hanging just like this. And I'm just kind of putting in a sketchy outline so that I know where I want it to go. And so I'm going to kind of come through here and make my little marks with brown paint just to start off with. Just like this. And I'm going to come off the edge a bit just so that that line kind of disappears. And then I'm just going to keep on going across. And I'm going to go both ways just so I don't have my rounded brush only on one side. Just like that. And it kind of adds some more texture to it also. Like that. Then I'm going to come back in with this yellow ochre and kind of go lightly over some of these, just for some extra texture and some differentiation in the color. And I'm just going to dip, and I'm just going to kind of randomly go over these marks in the brown. And I'm not trying to get them exactly right. As a matter of fact, I kind of want this basket to be filled in. And I'm definitely going to work on getting rid of any of those original sketch lines that I made. Just like that. And so now we have a bit of a basket going on, which I really like. So I'm just rinsing my brush quickly, and I'm going to do the same thing, making a bit of a rope. And I'm going to just make it kind of easy and textured. And I'm going to do the same thing here, go over some of this with my yellow ochre. That way we get kind of a two-tone look, and it blends together, and then we have a nice easy basket. While that's drying, I've decided I wanted something else to kind of ground this. And so I thought what might be kind of neat would be to make some kind of little pillar here coming off the side. And so I grabbed my brush and my titanium white, and I'm going to start by making a straight line down with just pure white all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to fill this in. Just like this. And I don't mind getting brushy. This is a nice textured piece, so it's fine. Now what I'm going to do is add a couple of little areas where maybe it comes out and in, just like that, and maybe out again like that. And I'm going to thicken up this paint a bit just so it has a definite border. Like this. And then I'm going to dip just a little into that yellow ochre and just a little into this Van Dyke brown. And that's too much. I'm going to wipe most of it off on my plate. And I'm just going to add some light brush strokes to give this some texture. Just like that. And then maybe make this the rounded area. Just like that. And then I'm going to go in with some heavier color this. And just make some different marks. Almost like those pillar surrounds, the decorative stonework or something like that. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to just dip into a little bit more of that yellow ochre. I've got some paint on my brush, some water on my brush, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that coming down. And that way we get a little bit of extra color with that white. And I'm just going to make sure to make this a rounded shape like that. And then one last stroke with my white. And I've got a little bit of that yellow ochre on my brush still. So I'm just kind of going with it. And I'm actually going in with my left hand just to smooth out that line a bit. Just like that. Okay, now we'll let this dry. Okay, I'm back and we are, I'd say, about 95% dry. There's a couple of little moist spots with some blobs, but I'm not going to worry about that. While I was off camera, I just added a little something up here to make it hang from somewhere. And then I actually mixed a yellow ochre with the rest of that turquoise that I had on my plate and a very, very small amount of brown. And I made a really nice color green here that I'm going to use to put some foliage and flowers in this basket. And I'm going to start with this color that I just mixed, and I'm going to add some darker colors and more as I go forward so we can get a lot of different colors of leaves here and some good shadow colors going on. So I'm going to turn this into a floral hanging basket. And so I'm going to first just use my brush lightly to trace some lines where I want some of these hanging tendrils to go, because I'm going to have kind of like vining plants almost, if that makes sense. And I just want to make sure that I have the composition that I want. And so I've got a few coming out here. I'm going to have one kind of coming out here. And then I'm going to have one coming down here all the way down to the bottom. And I kind of like the general look of that, so we're going to go with that. And so what I'm going to do is take my brush and kind of roll it and make some abstract leaf shapes. And so I'm going to start here. And I'm just making some very light marks. And I'm just sort of rolling my brush, getting some blobs of paint on there, and I'm filling it out. Just like that. And I'm going to keep on going, and I have a little bit of brown mixed in some spots, but that is okay with me. And I want some differentiation in my shapes. I'm just sort of rolling my brush here and just making sure I get plenty of random sort of marks. Just like that. Because I want this to be nice and full. And almost like a mess of foliage, if that makes sense. And I'm really going to concentrate on getting plenty of green in that center area too. And I'm going to have this come right off the page. Just like that. And I really like that so far. So I'm going to focus here now, just making some nice full marks. I've got my tendrils coming down, so I'm going to really concentrate on getting just some extra leaves kind of scattered around. I'm going to come out to the side a bit and really focus on this area here. Like that. Okay, now I'm going to add some yellow ochre to this and mix that in. And I'm going to grab some white and lighten it up substantially. Just like this. And I'm going to make a very light colored green here. And this is going to be a bit of a contrasting color, but it's all going to go together because I'm using the same colors for blending. So this will be not so one tone anymore. So I'm going to come over here and just start adding some variation in color. And you can see it just kind of makes it more interesting right away when you have that contrast going on and some different variations. And I'm going to do even more. And don't forget too that acrylic paint will dry darker than how you put it down, so you can go extra light. So I'm going to add even more white, just like this, and really get those highlights going. And I'm going to be a little bit more sparing with each one. And for the white and the brightest colors, I'm going to kind of put those toward this side. So that can be where my sun is coming from. Some more random marks as we kind of get into our layers. Like that. Now what I'm going to do now is add a little bit of brown to the green on this side with some yellow. And I'm going to add some shadow areas to these leaves. Particularly in this area here. All right. Okay, next up, I'm going to add some of this yellow alcohol ink, and I'm going to do the same as I did with the brown. And I'm just going to put in some marks, and they're not going to be very easy to see until you're kind of up close, but it's just going to add a little bit of extra brightness to this paper. And I'm also going to add a little bit of this orange. And just give that kind of a hint of some flowers. And it'll kind of warm it up a little bit too, and we can have that hint of warmth there on the page. And then I'm going to get some green alcohol ink and go over that and put some drops of green on here. And some black. Now the black ink that I have is not all that dark, but I'm just going to put a few little blobs on there. And then last but not least, we're going to put some red. And I'm going to try to follow along with some of these little areas there on the green paint. And I love how this is turning out so far. I'm actually gonna go back into this red, put a couple up here strategically in the spots where I missed, and they can be small. And I really love how this is coming along. I'm going to make some of these larger, but then some of them will be some very small kind of scattered flowers. Just like that. Okay, I'm mostly dry and my alcohol ink is lightening up a bit. So what I'm going to do is get my red back out and go back over some of the spots that already have the ink. And I'm going to drop another bit on there to deepen up some of that color. Just like this. I want to get some nice rich color on here. And I love how it kind of is taking on some of the texture in the paint that's already on there. And it looks just really neat. And as it dries, I'm just deepening it up. That way we have some nice bright redness on here. Okay, we're almost dry. I grabbed some of this acrylic ink and I put just a couple of drops on my plate. I'm just going to use my brush to help that along a little bit. The alcohol dries a little bit transparent, so I'm going to add some touches of this acrylic ink to a few of these spots to add some extra texture to these flowers. Just like this. And I'm gonna kind of go in some very loose strokes, because some of these flowers might be from the side, some of them might be straight on. So I'm just making very abstract strokes. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water and give this a couple of little splashes too. Just like that. And I think that looks really nice. I'm going to get a couple of these little spots that I missed just outside of the basket so we can have just some kind of coming out. I love the sort of surrounded by flowers look. I think that's really pretty. Okay, I'm going to come back and bring some pure white back into this to brighten up some of that color. I have a lot of midtones in here, so I'm going to grab my stylus and dip it into my white paint that I have left over on my plate, and I'm just going to add some little centers to some of these flowers. And then that'll add just a bit of highlight. And I'm being sort of random with where I'm placing some of this. And just sort of dabbing it on. Just like that. And that way we can get some nice brightness back into this basket. And I don't have to do it with all of them, but I just want to get enough so that we have our highlight areas. I love how this is turning out. It's really nice. And then some of these other little spots, I'll just add some little marks. Okay, I think I want to do just one more thing, and that is just add a little bit of this white down here, just to add a little bit of extra highlight on the side of this basket. And I'm just sort of scribbling it in almost. And I might actually add a little bit of the yellow ochre with that too, so it's not quite so in your face. And maybe a little bit coming down on this side, but not as much. And let's add a little bit more detail in here, because I just happen to have some on my plate, so I might as well use it, right? I'm actually going to dab just a little bit of this up. That's a little too much. There we go. And then I'm going to dip in with my brush and add a little bit of pure white, just strategically, to a very couple spots of leaves. And it's just enough to add just a little extra texture and a little bit more highlight. That's a little much. I'm just going to blot some of this up. All right, perfect. I think we've got ourselves a done journal page, this abstract acrylic flower basket with alcohol inks and splashes and just about everything. But I love how this turned out, and I gotta say, I really was not sure what I was gonna put on here, but I love the finished result. So I'm gonna hold this up and give you a close-up and let you see it. And I love just the whole look of it. It's just so easy. You just add some marks, some alcohol. Abstract florals are just wonderful. So I really hope you enjoyed this art journal video today, and I hope you'll try it for yourself. Baskets apparently are pretty easy to make. So I hope you try it yourself. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep creating.